welcome into Main Street Living. I'm Danielle Alvari.
Hey guys, I'm Quincy Carr.
I'm Cheryl Nelson, another great show planned for you today. And guys, today we're talking a lot about health and wellness. And unfortunately, due to the COVID pandemic, it's something that a lot of us have had to deal with, anxiety and the emotions surrounding that. So I want to ask you, how do you feel like the pandemic and lockdown has impacted you mentally? Danielle?
Well, for me, I'm really torn because that's when we started this show. So I got this really great new family out of the pandemic. It was virtual, of course, and finally getting to meet you guys in person. Still waiting on Quincy, of course, is a goal of mine. But it was really tough because we had to deal with everybody virtually, and it was just such a difference from getting to see people face to face. I think that really took its toll. Quincy?
Yeah, I think like I learned so much about myself because I am such a busy-minded person. So I always had to stay busy. So during the pandemic, I just created other ways to pivot. And then coming out of the pandemic, I believe that, being isolated helped me to understand a little bit more about myself and ways to interact with other people. So, and then of course, I got a chance to meet you guys 3 years ago, as a matter of fact. So
it's amazing. And it really makes you appreciate those face-to-face interactions too with people and just how we need that. I think human psychology, we crave the human touch as well, and just being able to hug somebody. I remember
and
that
hugging Cheryl in person is totally worth the wait, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, you guys are so cute.
Yes, we always have fun. And of course, Danielle, the next time we're in the same area, we have to link up, okay?
We're gonna link up, but we have a great show, as Cheryl mentioned. We're celebrating AAPI Heritage Month, of course.
Yeah, and we're sharing some helpful tips to keep your pet from getting lost.
And we will hear from an inspiring teacher, but first, helping kids stay healthy and well. You don't want to miss this coming up next on Main Street Living.
Hey guys, welcome back to Main Street Living. So excited to get this show going now. Ladies, we've all had, or actually we all have so many things to worry about and also keep up with these days. And sometimes it's really easy to forget the most important thing to take care of is ourselves, right?
Yes, caring for our mental health is just as important as minding our physical health. Unfortunately, there's still a lingering stigma around seeking mental health care, and Santa Barbara County is working to change that. Melissa Wilkins and Suzanne Grimmesey are here with more. Welcome to Main Street, Melissa and Suzanne. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So give us an overview of some of the ways young people in Santa Barbara County and really all around the country are struggling right now with their mental health.
We've come a long way in regards to combating stigma, but we still have a long ways to go. Today's youth are exposed to stressors that were non-existent just a short time ago. Everything from mass shootings, worry of safety at school with school shootings, cumulative natural disasters, the worry and the unknown surrounding talk about climate change, and then the pandemic, which has carried multiple impacts on our youth across the country as well as locally. The Center for Disease Control, or CDC, not long ago published a 10-year report called the Surveillance Data Summary. And it showed the data trends for American high school students trending from 2011 to 2021. It showed that more than 4 in 10, so about 42% of students, felt persistently sad or hopeless, and nearly a third, or 29%, experienced poor mental health. Also, more than 1 in 5, or 22% of students, seriously considered attempting suicide, and 1 in 10, so 10%, attempted to die by suicide. So this data brings into focus the level of distress that many of our youth are experiencing across the country, but also locally in Santa Barbara County.
Wow.
And it's really scary because there's so much to deal with that wasn't there. A decade ago, for example, we didn't have the pandemic, COVID. People weren't as worried about climate change. I'm a meteorologist, so I know that extreme weather events are on the rise, and you've been inundated with rainfall from atmospheric rivers. So you've had all of that there, and that's a lot to deal with. And I love that you launched a campaign last month called It's Okay to Not Be Okay. Let's take a quick look at a TV spot for that program.
1 in 7 adolescents are struggling with their mental health.
If my friend was struggling with mental health, I'd say that they are beautiful on the inside and outside, and I'm always going to be there for them. Like, there's people that love you out there.
There are people out there who care about you and who want to hear to what you have to say.
I'm going to lift your crown for you, like, no matter what. So, yeah, it's okay not to be okay.
Learn more at oksbc.org.
There it is again, that stat. 1 in 17 struggle with mental health. But it's great that friends are showing support to one another. I think that's key.
I think that's key. And I also love the way it normalizes conversations about mental health, because that's ultimately what's going to get rid of the stigma and encourage people to reach out and not feel alone.
Yeah. Well, so Melissa, what was the goal for this campaign?
Well, one of the goals was to normalize the conversation. So thank you for mentioning that, Suzanne. And this campaign was actually born out of multiple focus groups that we held with local Santa Barbara County youth, and just really trying to hear from them about maybe what they are needing post-COVID and post this pandemic, and with all of the other issues that you raised. And so after leading several of these focus groups, what really was brought to our attention was that youth were able to identify their feelings of stress, feelings of anxiety, and even put names to those. They were also able to identify risks and harms associated with substance use. But the real gap in knowledge was in how to access resources when they identified that there was a problem, either for themselves or with one of their friends. And so the goal of this campaign, in part, is to provide resources that are easily accessible to youth so that they can know how to access resources when needed, and then also to begin those conversations, start having conversations, whether it's with peers or with other individuals in their lives who they find to be supportive.
Absolutely. And Melissa, what was the process you went through in creating this campaign? And how did you know what areas to focus on with young people? Because I know that's got to be tough.
It is. And there's a lot of research. This particular campaign, we based on a public health model, a social cognitive theory, and it really looks at the fact that there's a lot of different influencing factors on behavioral change. And so the areas that we focused on with this particular campaign were increasing knowledge among youth regarding the resources that are available, and then using youth as role models so that we can really showcase their stories and present to other youth that, it's okay to seek out support. It's okay to have conversations, and then having youth really take the lead in modeling that behavior.
And we know that adolescence is a difficult period for everyone, but especially those who were going through that phase of life when the pandemic hit had even more to deal with. How do you think the pandemic impacted young people?
I think the pandemic had enormous impact on young people in many ways. I think most are familiar with the switch to online learning and the challenges that brought, but it also took away the connectedness that students had at school and that protective barrier that it offered. Another recent CDC report shared some of the many effects that youth experienced. More than half, or 55% of youth surveyed, reported that during the pandemic, they experienced emotional abuse by a parent or another adult in the home. 11% experienced physical abuse in the home. And more than a quarter, 29%, reported that a parent or another adult in the home lost their job. And then, of course, the stress that goes for a child and seeing the discussions about financial distress. So all of these are significant stressors that contribute to the mental health challenges of young adults. Substance misuse is more prevalent now than ever. With the effect the pandemic has had on youth mental health, the CDC also shared that 37% of high school students reported poor mental health during the pandemic, and 44% reported that they persistently felt sad or hopeless during the past year. So the pandemic has definitely impacted our young adults.
Yes. And one of your campaign participants talked specifically about how difficult the pandemic lockdown was for her. Let's listen to what she has to say.
I think COVID and quarantining the pandemic, it negatively impacted teens, especially like I went through something too rough with my mental health. I think because I wasn't going outside, I wasn't seeing my regular, and I was just so comfortable with having a routine, like waking up, going to school, and then for that to just get messed up, be isolated, and be in a place where I'm not comfortable to talk about my feelings a lot, not being able to contact and not being face-to-face interaction with my friends who are someone who I trust and who I can confide in. It just negatively impacted me to not be able to express my feelings.
Oh, and I think we can all sympathize with not being face to face with people during the pandemic and how hard that was. How common was it for you to hear that the pandemic had impacted young people's mental health in a negative way? Suzanne?
It was very common. I was fortunate to be able to lead some focus groups with youth during the pandemic, and they were sharing that the most common was how much they missed just the simple acts of being on campus. So high fives, passing each other in the hallway. So that lack of connectedness was a pretty significant thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Such good conversation here. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with Melissa and Suzanne right here on Main Street Living. Stay with us. Welcome back to Main Street Living. We are back with Melissa Wilkins and Suzanne Grimmesey from the Santa Barbara County Department of Behavioral Wellness, talking about their It's Okay to Not Be Okay campaign. Now, we're having such good conversation here, and you use the term behavioral wellness. What would be included in that term?
Well, that includes both mental health as well as substance use. And I'm going to let Suzanne share a little bit more about the details of what behavioral wellness really means.
Yeah, we rebranded as a department about 10 years ago to the name Behavioral Wellness. And just as Melissa said, it's having mental health and substance use treatment under one roof to help us to really provide the best care possible to people with complex needs that we serve.
Absolutely. Have you noticed a rise in substance misuse among young people after the pandemic?
We have, and we don't have all of the data quite yet because it's still fairly recent that we're coming out of the pandemic. But what's been most significant is actually in these focus groups is really hearing from youth on the reasons why they're using. And whereas prior to the pandemic, oftentimes youth cited things like wanting to have fun, being at parties, being social as reasons for use, the reasons that they're giving now have much more to do with dealing with anxiety, dealing with feelings of sadness, dealing with PTSD. And so just the fact that youth are listing those as reasons for substance use and then seeing the increase in youth seeking out treatment for substance use has been significant recently.
I'm glad that you're bringing awareness to this. Let's listen to what one of your campaign participants had to say about this topic.
I'd want someone who's struggling with substance abuse to know that there are people out there, even if it's just the person that you talk to every day at the corner store. There are people out there who care about you and who want to hear to what you have to say, and they are going to be there for you in your darkest of times, even if that's not a parent. Like sometimes it's enough just to go up to that person who's struggling to say, I hear you, I see you, I validate how you feel and stuff like that, and not necessarily give them advice right away, but tell them that you're listening to them, and if they ever need some sort of support, like you're there to listen and to talk it through, and then you can guide them to websites and resources.
Oh, I really love what she said there about even just the person you talk to at the store, because it's so true. Just that can be so helpful. Melissa, how are you hoping that this campaign helps young people avoid substance misuse?
Well, we really want to highlight youth as role modeling positive coping skills. And so you can see there that that particular individual shared, reaching out and having social connections. And so our hope is really to promote those positive coping skills and promote social connections among youth with their peers and also with other support systems as a way of really dealing with those underlying issues and reasons that youth are stating that they're using substances right now.
These PSAs are really important, really helpful. And Suzanne, is this how you're getting the message out to young people in Santa Barbara?
It's one of the ways we're getting out the message as broadly as possible. So social media, print media, TV, word of mouth, everything we can.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Now, Melissa, you asked all of your campaign participants the same question of what it's okay not to be okay means to them. And they all gave different answers. Is that part of the point of the campaign, to show those different perspectives?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want to highlight the different perspectives. We want to highlight youth taking the lead in these conversations and highlighting the fact that, each person has their own story to tell, and really encouraging youth to have those conversations.
Speaking of that, let's listen to what one participant had to say.
It's okay to seek for help and to talk to anyone, and to even, go on the street and listen to music and be by yourself. It's okay to be alone if that's what you want. Yeah.
Oh, I love what you said there at the end too. It's okay to be alone if you want to be alone. And it's important to remember that you don't have to just give people advice right away. You can just be there to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Suzanne, how can viewers find more information about the campaign and where to seek help if they feel a need?
Visiting the campaign website is a great way to get more information. The OK Campus page especially is filled with resources for youth, both to access help for themselves as well as helping to access youth for others and for friends. Another good resource is the Behavioral Wellness 24/7 Access Line. That number is 888-868-1649. And then the National Crisis and Suicide Hotline, which youth can call or they can text. And that number is 988.
That's amazing. Well, Suzanne, Melissa, thank you so much for all you're doing for the kids out there. And hopefully this helps kids across the country. We really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Well, up next, we're going to meet another advocate for kids in Santa Barbara. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Main Street Living. Quincy, Danielle, I'm glad that we grew up when we did, because kids have a lot to deal with these days between schoolwork, family issues, and the pressure brought on by social media. Being a kid now can be really hard.
I bet. I mean, I remember growing up, and fortunately, there are lots of people focused on supporting kids and providing all the tools that they need to thrive. We're talking about school and in life.
Right. And Crystal Guzman had teachers who motivated her to strive for greatness. And now she tries to do the same for her students, which is just one reason she was named a Distinguished New Educator.
Hi, my name is Crystal Guzman and I teach at El Camino Junior High. I teach English and leadership.
It is the first time that we try this, and therefore that's why you have a sentence frame to kind of prepare you for it.
So as a kid, I had a really hard time understanding the English language. So it was really hard for me to keep up in the class. But my teachers, I was really fortunate to always have teachers who would encourage and motivate me for the smallest thing. They're like, would really celebrate that. And they never made me feel less smart or less capable. If anything, I felt that I was right where I needed to be in order to grow.
What is collaboration? What does it mean to collaborate with one another?
I said I want to make a difference in a student's life as well. I want all my students to feel supported and loved and encouraged. So it's kind of my way of giving back to the many generations.
So if, let's say, like a fourth grader, your fourth grade brother came up to you and is like, what are you reading? What is it about?
She's so bubbly. Students love her. And they need to see that example in class. She puts them at ease completely by using Spanish, and that's huge, you know? It's so important for kids to be proud of bilingual. We need to promote that. It's not a deficit, it's an advantage. So she's really good about promoting that.
Being bilingual really helps me communicate with the students and the parents and create that similarity between teacher and student. I really feel that because of my upbringing and because of my struggles that I really get to connect with my students. And I feel like a role model for my students, and I tell them like, hey, you know, like if I can do it, you can do it.
She just understands us, like, because she knows she was in our place when she was in 8th grade too.
My overall goal is I want my students to thrive in anything that they want to do. So it's very important for me as an educator to introduce them to that new path and give them the tools necessary for them to be successful and create this new pathway for their families and for the generations to come.
I want to become a teacher, also a middle school teacher. She makes it seem so fun, like to be able to help kids when it's needed.
This passage of The Other Side of the Sky by Farah Mehdi talked about, and then we're going to discuss that.
Her way of teaching is amazing. She is also really nice, which I'm sure a lot of students really like about her. That's why I think she is an amazing teacher. She truly deserves an award.
I know that I'm meant to be here. I know that this is where my heart is. And I wouldn't change it. I love it.
Wow. Congratulations again for Ms. Guzman and all of her accomplishments. And I could tell you, it's got to be difficult with the 15-second videos holding our kids' attention and all on TikTok.
Oh my gosh, I know. And what I love about her is she said she struggled in school too. So she can really relate when her students are struggling. Love that about her.
Yeah, and you can find out more about Crystal as well as the other teachers honored at the Salute to Teachers event on the Santa Barbara County Education Office website, sbceo.org/salute.
All right, and don't go anywhere because coming up next, from kids to our fur babies, we've got tips to keep your fur babies safe this summer.
Welcome back into Main Street Living. Now, anyone who has had pets knows that they very quickly become members of the family. Cheryl loves her kitties so much that she actually brought one with her to New York so she wouldn't be without her fur babies while she's working there this spring.
I did, and oh gosh, it makes my life so much better. My kitties are my babies, and I cannot imagine having something bad happen to them, or God forbid, having them get lost. Nina Thompson with the San Diego Humane Society is here with tips for how to keep our furry family members safe this summer, and this is so important. Welcome to Main Street Living.
Thank you for having me.
So the San Diego Humane Society is pushing out an awareness campaign to help pet owners keep their fur babies from getting lost. How big of a problem is this? Just hearing that just gives me the chills.
It's a huge problem. 1 in 3 pets will get lost in their lifetime. 1 in 3. So just to give you an example, we had 94 stray pets come into San Diego Humane Society just yesterday. About 20,000 in a year. So it's a very big problem.
Huge problem. And 1 in 3, like that's incredibly high. Like, what are some of the situations that lead to pets becoming lost?
There are so many different situations, and it's mostly the unexpected. You know, a pet gets frightened and runs away. It could be a trash truck. It could be construction. It could be a nail gun. But it could also be that they see another wild animal and just take off. We so often hear, oh, my dog doesn't run away, or, you know, my dog can be off leash. But if there's a bunny that comes across the street or they get frightened by something unexpected, they may run away. But it's also open doors and open gates. So if somebody, for example, is visiting, a pet might sneak out through the door. Or if you have a contractor or a service person come to your home and they leave the gate open and you don't check before you let your pet out, So there's so many different situations where a pet can become lost.
Yeah, and also people who have indoor-outdoor cats, for example. I don't do that. Mine are all indoors, but that can be scary too, because what happens when they don't come back? You don't know what happened to them. And so as we head into summer too, you don't want your pets to get separated from you. But what are some other things that can happen in the summertime?
Well, the 4th of July, especially, we see fireworks all the time in San Diego throughout the summer and actually throughout the year. But the fireworks are especially loud on the 4th of July. And that is our busiest time. The 3 days following the 4th of July are just our busiest time for stray pets. So there's the parties, there's the barbecues, there's the having people come in and out of your house. So it's really important to plan if you're going to have a gathering, to have a plan, to have your pet in a secure area to make sure they're not getting in and out. If there's fireworks, for example, don't bring your pets to a fireworks show.
No.
Never, ever do that. They don't enjoy it. It's too loud and too scary, but also make sure they're in a secure place at home where they have a sanctuary, where they feel safe. They have their favorite toy, their bed, maybe the TV on, because they can become very destructive just out of fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Like they gave us for our newly adopted pet a lick pad. So if your pet gets a little nervous with those noise, you can let them lick on this pad. Maybe put some pumpkin, something on it. Yeah. But if you do realize that your pet is missing, what are the first steps you should take to try to find them?
The first step really these days is to post on social media and also look on social media. If you're part of local groups in your neighborhood, chances are that your neighbor has your pet. They may have been found. So post about your pet on social media and check about your pet on social media. In San Diego, let us know at San Diego Humane Society. We post all pets who have come into us lost on our website, so we can find, so you can look there, and then we can also look on other social media sites to see if there are any posts about missing pets. But post on social media, let your local Humane Society or county shelter, whoever's your animal services provider, know that you're looking for your pet. But so many times the pet is just a few blocks away, not necessarily at the shelter.
Yeah, one thing I've heard too, if you lose a cat, is to put the dirty litter box outside as well, because that way they'll be attracted back to the scent. So that can be something that's important. And I love that you said social media, because so many neighborhoods and communities have the lost and found pet group. So if you're not in San Diego, Google that and look on your Facebook and find the group in your area and get on that, become a member. I think that's crucial. And so you want to be proactive and getting reunited with your pet. And one other thing that I love is microchipping. So let's talk a little bit about that. Collars, microchips, license. What else should you be doing?
Yeah, exactly. Those are the main things. Number one is to make sure that your pet has a collar. Even if you say that it's an indoor cat, please have a collar on your cat with an ID tag so that if your cat does get out, somebody can easily know where the cat belongs. So collars with tags that have updated information. Something as simple as writing their name and your phone number on their collar with a Sharpie, if you don't have a tag, will do wonders in reuniting a stray pet with their family. Microchipping is huge because that's something that can't fall off. So microchip your pet, make sure the information is up to date with that microchip. So if you're moving or if you changed your phone number, let the microchipping company know so that all the information is up to date. Any veterinary place, any shelter can scan. A lot of fire stations, some libraries, they have microchip scanners so they can scan your pet, and that way you can reunite quickly with your pet. Licensing for dogs, it's the law. We want to make sure that your dog has a rabies vaccine. The license is another way to get your animal home quickly, because if there's a license tag associated with your pet, the animal services provider in your community in San Diego, it's San Diego Humane Society, will be able to quickly locate you and get your pet back to you.
Yeah, and that's so cool because I know, it's not just in San Diego, but I would assume all of the other humane societies all over the country probably have these techniques. And that's some pretty cool ways to handle if your pet does get lost. Now, really quick, how can viewers get more information?
We have all this information on our website, sthumane.org. If you add a /protect there, sthumane.org/protect, all of the information is there, the resources. Also, if you found a pet, what to do, post about that pet on social media before you take the pet to a shelter. So all those resources are there.
I'm glad you mentioned that real quick. If you find a pet, don't automatically assume that it's a stray and say, ooh, I'm going to keep it, or don't keep it in your house. You have to make those calls, right? Post on social media, make those calls. And do you take the pet to a shelter?
So our ask of the community is, if you can, hang on to the pet in your home, because by taking them to the shelter, that might be 20 minutes away, 30 minutes away. So if you can hang on to the pet and post about that pet on social media first, if it's for 2 hours, 24 hours, even up to 48 hours, if there's an owner in your neighborhood, they're going to find somebody who knows, or somebody who saw something on social media and say, oh, I know so-and-so has your pet. If that doesn't work, absolutely, let us know right away. If you have a found pet, let us know right away. But if you can avoid bringing the pet to the shelter, that skips an intake for that animal. That animal might get stuck at the shelter. Currently, San Diego Humane Society has a record number of animals. We have more than 2,200 animals at our shelter. So if we can avoid having an animal who is stray and possibly has their owner nearby come in through our doors, that's our main ask. If you can help locate the owner on your own first, that's the best way to go. Of course, we're here for any animal who needs us.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Stopping by.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, Cheryl, some great information. And up next, we got some cool information that we're going to see. We're still celebrating AAPI Heritage Month, and it is delicious. Stay right there.
Welcome back to Main Street Living. Danielle, Quincy. May is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and there are so many ways to learn about and appreciate the very diverse cultures that are included in the AAPI group.
Yeah, Cheryl, and one of the best things about exploring other cultures is definitely the food, right?
Yes.
And yeah, of course, and when it comes to Asian and Pacific Island fare, the options are almost endless.
Yes, the Me Some restaurant has been in business for more than 70 years, serving up regional Chinese cuisine to rave reviews in Fall River, Massachusetts. Let's check this out.
My name is Regina Ma, co-owner of Me Some Restaurant in Fall River, Massachusetts. Me Some been in business over 70 years. But I've been in this business close to 50 years. I'm born and raised in Hong Kong. I came to this country in 1972. I came here as a bride. And when I first come to this country, I learned from the scratch. My husband started when he was 10 years old. First, when he came to this country, and he learned how to peel onion, and then, of course, you wash dishes. Actually, my husband graduated from UMass Dartmouth, not before it was called SMU. And he graduated as an electrical engineer, but he's cooking. It's nice to get an education, but at that time, my in-law had so much hope to have the business continue. You learn what you do and try to do your best. The chow mein sandwich, a lot of people, they never tried it. A lot of people ask me and call up, give me one of those burger noodle. Customers come all over different states, California, Chicago. In Massachusetts, through the New England area, we had a lot. And we're pretty much involved with the whole neighborhood. I'm very blessed, and they're kind to us. I don't treat my customer like my customer. It's more like my friend and family. When you love your business, that shows. A human being, you can feel it. You know, when you give back a little bit, to be kind with one another is very nice.
Ah, Chinese food. I love that there are so many options, including vegan options as well. And one thing I thought was funny is when she said her husband's degree is in electrical engineering and now he's cooking. So it's all about following passion, right?
Yes, absolutely. And it's so hard to find just good, authentic Chinese food.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. But speaking of that, if you love authentic Chinese food and you're lucky enough to find yourself near Fall River, Massachusetts, be sure to stop in for a delicious bite at Me Some. I think we should do a road trip.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. You got enough miles in your car, okay?
Yes, I do.
In fact, we got to prepare to do that, just like we're going to prepare with you, Cher, up next. So you got to stay right there. Hey guys, welcome back to Main Street Living. Now, of course, if you guys out there have been watching Main Street Living before, then you probably already know a lot of our hosts are very busy with a lot of different endeavors.
That's right. Quincy is a comedian. I work in sports, and our own Cheryl Nelson is a meteorologist and also runs her own business, Prepare with Cher. Absolutely my role model here. Cheryl, you focus on disaster, travel and home, and family preparedness. Can we get some tips about a few easy ways that we can be more prepared for the unexpected? Because I have to tell you, I live in California. There are earthquakes here, and anywhere you live in the country, it could be a different natural disaster you have to be prepared for.
Yes, absolutely. So let me ask you, what happens when there's an earthquake? What do you do?
Duck and cover.
All right. Drop and hold on, right?
Was that right?
So,
okay.
Yeah, get under something sturdy. Absolutely. Don't run outside because there are things that could fall off the building. So that's good. You're on the right track. But natural disasters, it's all about knowing your risk. What types of disasters are you prone to, where you live or where you're vacationing? Have a plan. Is that plan family communicated? Have you talked to everybody in your family? Do you have a meeting place if you get separated? Do you have an out of town contact who you could say, hey, I'll call this person if we can't get through to one another? And also, do you have a disaster preparedness kit? Let me ask you guys, do you have a kit at home?
Yeah, I just don't know if it's for a disaster.
Q, what is in your kit?
I think Quincy needs a travel kit as well because he's on these cruise ships doing comedy quite frequently. And I'm worried he's going to get left at a port.
That's a great. I may not have a disaster kit, but what about my traveling? Like if I need to run away from the disaster? Maybe?
Oh my gosh. All right, you guys, first of all, you got that disaster kit, go to preparewithshare.com because I list everything you need on it. All right. Non-perishable food, water, first aid kit, what have you. But when you're traveling, I'm glad that you mentioned this because most of us don't think about disasters when we're traveling. Right? So you're on a cruise ship. So I know they go through a lot of safety measures. You have to keep that in mind. Other things to keep in mind when you're traveling, how safe are you? Are there hidden cameras? Have you searched for hidden cameras? Maybe in Airbnbs. You can bring those portable locks with you as well and put them on the door to give you some extra protection. There's lots of things that you want with you. The first aid kits, the medications in case you get sick. If you're traveling and you only have a carry-on, trust me, put the extra underwear and extra clothes in that carry-on because I've been stranded before at JFK and I was glad that I had that stuff with me. Extra socks, always good to have as well.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that your expertise extends beyond just travel and disaster preparedness, but also home and family. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're always safe, yourself, your kids, your pets. I'm a big advocate for pet preparedness, and we've talked a lot about that on today's show as well. So make sure you and your pet don't get separated. Microchipping is so important during natural disasters because we always hear of the pets getting lost. So get that microchip and update that information. And then for your kids too, another thing you can do is the kids can have wristbands and they can wear them and they have a USB drive on them and it has their information on it. And also if they have medical conditions, it has that right on the bracelet as well. So that's one thing you can do. There's so much we can talk about with preparedness. And again,
so many things I've never thought about, Cheryl.
Yes, everything on my website. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, we can go to your website. There it is, preparewithshare.com. And of course, as we always have you guys do, just keep following us and keep sticking with us. You never know what you could get from us, right? So,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Of course, straight ahead, more of Main Street Living. What's next? Hey guys, welcome back to Main Street Living. The show has come to an end, and unfortunately, so is our relationship with our show's producer and director. Can we get them to make an appearance on here? Mike, Carla, can you just pop in?
Last show, yeah, do the Brady Bunch talk scene.
Yes. You
Come
know,
on,
guys,
Brady
there's
Bunch.
so much that goes
Yes.
on behind the scenes, and they do so much to put this show together along with Shannon, our editor. And we just want to thank Carla and Mike for so many years of dedication, and we're really going to miss you.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are the engine that makes the show go. And if you did miss any shows, you can check it out on our Cox Contour app.
There you go.
That's right. And we have brand new episodes of Main Street Living Mondays at 9 p.m. local time. So join us then as we take another stroll down Main Street.
Do it, Carla. Do it. There you go.